Good day. It's quarter to noon in Dallas, Texas. I was going to withhold presenting anything in this particular comportment for a variety of reasons today. Today being as it is May 17th. But May 17th is also the anniversary. May 17, 2021 is also the anniversary of the first time I posted videos, at least insofar as it says now, on YouTube. And I contend that what I've actually done in the last year has been very meaningful, potentially very positive for people that need to have a basis of a particular kind of record keeping in order to try to move forward and account for what was taken away from us in the last year through no fault of our own, and insofar as there may be fault, for us to have a basis upon which to attempt to establish responsibility and be accountable. It's pretty simple in one manner. So I'm going to start with an acknowledgement of how it is that I came to be able to sleep indoors at night without having to go through a nonprofit organization after more than 3 years on the street. Around this time, last year, I met some people. They told me they were sleeping under an overpass. I met them originally. When I met them, I liked them. They were pleasant people. I had experienced previously that there was this pattern that kept happening. I would meet somebody, I'd have a conversation with them. I would start to get to know them and like them. And at some point, usually within the first 48 hours of meeting them, they would start talking to me about some of the less desirable aspects of the choices they made while they were on the street that were considerably different than the ones I made, including in connection with acts of prostitution and acts of drug use. Usually, when I would encounter those points of the conversation, I would just walk away. Just because I was homeless did not mean that I condoned illegal activity associated with drug use or associated with prostitution. But this was happening for 3 years. Periodically, very important benchmark dates would come up, and I would be offered an opportunity. Usually, I just walked away. After getting to know these people by the second day, one of them informed me about her experiences with prostitution and how she was a part of a program. Let me know about it. The second person, who had identified himself previously as having diabetes, was revealed to not be engaged in injecting insulin. At this point, I said to myself, do it different this time. Don't be so judgmental and walk away. You understand that other people have a particular understanding of how to deal with a situation like this. Your zero tolerance policy has put you in a situation where you literally have nobody to talk to. And you're not going to engage in drug use yourself. You're not going to help them procure any. You're not going to condone what they do. And if a criminal proceeding were to come up, then they already know where you stand. But to completely cut them off, you did this before, over and over again. See what happens if you just disengage from the act as it's occurring, but don't just write them off altogether. The 72-hour period ended up clearing. That was my worst fear. That I was again being put into a situation where I was being extorted into normalization of criminal activity by others, presenting themselves as somehow victim and yet still engaged in crime. And I was going to have to suck it up if I wanted it to end any differently than me completely by myself and on the street again. Sure enough, after 72 hours, but before the 4th day, I met somebody in a McDonald's, had a conversation with him. The initial conversation was very, very high level. Exactly what I was looking for. I hadn't taken a shower in several months. As a matter of fact, I had gone 9 months with only 3 showers total because of what had happened. That's how I came to sleep inside. Within 30 days of being allowed to sleep inside, I watched an overnight on the floor of Congress connected to an alleged civil rights appropriations bill. See, prior to that 3-day period, something kept dinging in my email. There were aspects of my email where the text was in a different color. It was in purple. And it kept hitting the metric 15, 15, 15. I said, somebody is hedging on 15. That night, in that overnight appropriations process, a freshman member of Congress put forward the request for an appropriation for $15 million for a needle exchange program in her home district. I contend there wasn't quorum, but it passed. Ever since then, I've had very limited possibility for engaging in communication with other people. I've been allowed to talk to two people in a professional context. One, presumably involved in securities. The other, presumably involved in health insurance. Both times I gave them my resume and/or had conversations with them, shared with them my work products. At both times they intentionally defrauded me. They stole those work products. They've used them in crime ever since, and I can't get anybody to talk to me about anything. Very shortly from now, it'll be exactly 2 years since I was allowed to sleep indoors. I'm the president. That is what you did to your president. That is the reflection of your understanding of the head of your state. The only way you were going to let me sleep inside is if I made sure you were able to exchange your dirty needles for clean ones and let somebody else who was younger and prettier than me get the credit. That's about how it sizes up today. Is there anything else for me to say to you? Because this is also a reflection. This is also a reflection of how you see yourself. See, I see myself completely alone with no one to talk to. I see myself as not being allowed to be provided with even one other witness, but that also means there's nobody else with me as a witness to what I confront. I make videos, I put them out in the public, regardless of what everybody else may say, and regardless of the complete aberration of alleged legislative process and other governmental proceedings that have happened in the last 5 years. I try to maintain consistency and understanding we actually had a value as the people, and we have a right to be accurately represented. That's why I can't lie to you and pretend this is something else. I didn't win a beauty pageant. I didn't win a tournament. I'm not a hero, but I'm also not a victim. There's more that I could say right now, but I really don't want to. I could discuss how right now I understand that biological weapons are being used against, among others, the heads of state in other countries. That biological weapons were used against the person that represented the United States as the President of the United States in the last presidential session. Nobody wanted to talk about it like that, including those heads of state. So I'm going to talk about something else. See, in my former emanation, I had stepped up and said that I was going to assume the duties of the Attorney General of Texas per a specific process that had been, so far as I understood, constitutionally approved in the state of Texas concerning the Code of Military Justice. And as I understood it, there was an emergency, including an emergency connected to overt acts of sedition, attempting to undermine the constitutional government to supplant it with infiltrators engaged in organized crime. I made this a formal announcement. I contacted members of the federal legislature that represented Texas. I contacted Texas legislators. I then contacted the Supreme Court of Texas. And then within a specific timeline, I affirmed my commitment via a formal motion to the Supreme Court of Texas. According to the laws of Texas, the Supreme Court has a specific jurisdiction unless it officially releases its jurisdiction. Now, the Supreme Court of the United States in the last few sessions has had several discussions about cases concerning concurrent jurisdiction. That would be a matter for consideration as part of a argument or as part of a proceeding concerning the merits of a particular procedure in engaging in due process in consideration of the crimes that are ongoing at this time, and they have been ongoing for a considerable amount of time. But I let you know right now that I intend to move forward on prosecution connected to a criminal drug conspiracy that has been operating in this country for over 10 years. Now, I'm going to acknowledge forthrightly that I have attempted to contact the Department of State, Department of Commerce, and the Department of Defense directly and also through the senators of Virginia and the senators of Texas in consideration of a former executive order that was active until it was changed by former President Donald Trump after my initial efforts to contact those departments concerning chemical and biological weapons that dates back to the first Gulf War. There was also another executive order under the same president during that time frame that discussed very specifically the relationship between military assistance and humanitarian assistance by the United States of America when it came to wartime situation, specifically in this matter related to Iraq. Now, those executive orders went into effect when I was still a minor. They went into effect before the Clinton administration came into office, but they were still on the books and active by the time I attempted first to contact members of the legislature and then attempted to engage my access to rights to due process through the judicial system. If they should be brought up for consideration in regards to the other implications of the crimes associated with this specific criminal conspiracy, then I will acknowledge that, but I also disclose ahead of time that I understand the specific matters of concern here are related to the contract to commit to a criminal conspiracy that is the Affordable Care Act. When I originally filed my charges, it was in consideration of a RICO conspiracy that operationalized itself under the rubric of what could be considered a kingpin operation. The specific kingpins had been identified as former President Barack Obama and then President Donald Trump. I am going to modify the considerations in accordance with facts that have become available, including and in conjunction with the onset and the response to this alleged COVID-19 scenario. And I'm going to modify it to include a consideration of 6 kingpins in this particular operation. Former President Barack Obama, former Vice President Joseph Biden, former President Donald Trump, former Vice President Mike Pence, President alleged Joseph Biden, and Vice President alleged Kamala Harris. I contend that a Barack Obama-era executive order positioning the Vice President in the position that he was or she was put in consideration of response to a health pandemic, especially since the onset of COVID-19 and the subsequent response, implicates the Vice President as a kingpin as well. It also implicates the Vice President in consideration of their role as the President of the Senate and in consideration of having a relationship with the activities of the United States Senate during these circumstances and in this context. I still contend the Affordable Care Act is a contract to commit to a criminal conspiracy, and that what was included as my bill of exception in my original writ of habeas corpus that was part of the original petition for consideration of criminal charges has not only been proven, but has been more than proven. Now, if somebody decided they were going to intercept or interfere with my rights to due process and try to take my legal work and use it in processes of weaponization or for illegal hedging activity in consideration of or in a comportment with attempting to visit acts of reprisal or domestic or international terrorism, then those charges will be addressed. But I am not relenting on this prosecution. As a matter of fact, it is absolutely relevant, more relevant today, perhaps than it was at the time, but relevant nonetheless. I do not approve of anybody trying to game homeless people into agreeing to cooperate with normalization of illegal activity to get their basic resource needs met. That's exactly the kind of crime that has been occurring. If in no other manner, I personally and alone have been used as the vehicle for the operationalization of the criminal conspiracy that is the Affordable Care Act. But I also contend that part of the contract to commit was brokered on the murder of the author of the original bill from which it was derived. And I will be pursuing charges for murder as well.